When Meghan Markle first crossed the grand gates of Kensington Palace, she felt as if she had stepped into a painting. The quiet hum of history surrounded her, marble floors gleamed like mirrors, portraits of queens lined the walls, and the scent of old wood mixed with the faint perfume of roses from the gardens outside. It was breathtaking and overwhelming. She had become the Duchess of Sussex, a title older than any dream she had ever dared to imagine. The staff greeted her with warm smiles, but their eyes carried a certain formality, the kind that had watched generations of royals come and go. For Meghan, this was not just a home, it was a world bound by invisible rules. Her laughter, her gestures, even the way she stood in photographs would now belong to the public. Still, she told herself that love would make everything possible. She believed that with kindness and sincerity, she could fit into this ancient world without losing herself. And for a while, the palace felt like a fairy tale, one that shimmered beautifully on the surface, even as shadows quietly gathered beneath it. Royal life, Meghan soon discovered, was not a storybook but a schedule, precise, polished, and relentless. Each morning began with briefings: who she would meet, what she would wear, how long she would stay. There were lessons in curtsies, seating arrangements, and the unspoken language of hierarchy. Her wardrobe was planned months in advance, her speeches carefully reviewed, her tone measured to match the dignity of her new title. She tried to embrace it all with grace, reminding herself that she had married into something larger than life. Yet behind her polite smile, there were moments of quiet confusion. Why must affection be hidden? Why must warmth be restrained? Meghan had always been open, expressive, and full of empathy. But in this new world, a simple hug could seem improper, and honesty was sometimes seen as rebellion. "We don't usually do that," an aide once told her kindly after she hugged a visitor. Meghan understood, but her heart ached a little. She wanted to be respectful, but she also wanted to be herself. It was a delicate dance, between tradition and authenticity, between love and expectation, and every step felt like walking on glass. In the midst of royal protocol, love remained Meghan's refuge. Harry was her anchor, her partner, her laughter at the end of long official days. Together, they brought an intimacy that the public hadn't seen since Diana. They touched hands, shared smiles, and looked at each other with an ease that transcended formality. Their chemistry was genuine, their affection disarming. Crowds adored them, the prince and his modern duchess, symbols of renewal and inclusion. Meghan's compassion shone at public events. She knelt to speak to children, comforted mothers, and made strangers feel seen. "She has a light in hair," one elderly woman whispered at a hospital visit, "like the princess we lost." Those words touched Harry deeply. But as love drew them closer, the outside world began to pull them apart. Behind the flash of cameras, whispers began to grow. The same charm that made Meghan beloved by many also made her a target for others who found her too confident, too different, too unwilling to conform. Still, each night, in the quiet of their home, they would laugh, cook, and talk, two souls holding on to each other as the world began to close in. The palace, for all its grandeur, could be unbearably silent. When rumors began to swirl about Meghan's temper, her demands, her supposed feud with Kate, the family's motto was clear: never complain, never explain. To Meghan, that silence felt like abandonment. Leah spread like wildfire, yet she was told to say nothing. Headlines twisted her kindness into arrogance, her independence into rebellion. "Duchess difficult," one newspaper sneered. The words stung more than she let on. She had always believed that truth could clear misunderstandings, but in this world, truth was irrelevant, image was everything. At night, she would sit by the window, staring at the palace gardens fading into fog. The same walls that had once felt majestic now felt confining. Harry tried to reassure her, but she could see the pain in his eyes too. A man reliving the media cruelty that had haunted his mother. "We'll face it together," he told her. But together, they were facing a machine far larger than love. Every gesture Meghan made seemed to be compared with Kate's. Every outfit, every speech, even the way she held her bouquet became fuel for endless headlines. The media painted rivalries where none existed, turning two women into symbols of perfection and fault. Meghan admired Kate, but the relentless comparisons built invisible walls between them. "I wish they'd stop," she once sighed to a friend. "We're different people, that's all." But the press didn't want differences, they wanted drama. The palace said nothing. The silence, again, felt deafening. To the world, Meghan was either too outspoken or too quiet, too glamorous or not royal enough. She couldn't win, yet she continued working, championing causes that mattered: gender equality, education for girls, mental health. Her speeches were eloquent, heartfelt, and sincere. Older women admired her poise. Younger girls saw her as hope. But inside, the exhaustion was growing. Each morning, she smiled for cameras while quietly holding herself together, a modern duchess learning that grace sometimes meant surviving the storm. By 2019, the tabloids had become relentless. Every family issue was public, every emotion analyzed. Meghan's father gave interviews, distant relatives sold stories, and the papers printed them without mercy. Strangers debated her worthiness, her voice, her background. Too American, some said. Too ambitious, others added. It was the same cruelty that had chased Diana through her final years, and now Harry saw it happening again. "They're killing her," he told a friend. Meghan stayed silent, as instructed, but inside, the pressure was crushing. She found herself awake at night, her heart racing, her thoughts spinning. "I'm trying to be strong," she told her mother, Doria, "but I feel like I'm drowning." Yet when she appeared in public, she was flawless, calm, radiant, composed. Only those closest to her knew how much it cost her to smile. When Meghan became pregnant with Archie, she hoped that motherhood would bring peace. For a time, it did. She felt the first kick and smiled with tears in her eyes. But soon, even that joy was twisted. Headlines mocked her, showing off her baby bump, accused her of seeking attention. It was cruel beyond comprehension. They even criticized love, Harry said bitterly. Meghan began to withdraw, protecting herself and the baby. In private, she admitted feeling trapped. The palace, rather than offering comfort, kept its distance. "That's just how it is," one aide said softly. But to Meghan, that indifference was unbearable. She missed her mother, the freedom to walk outside unnoticed, to be human again. "I just want to be happy," she whispered one night, tears falling silently. On May 6, 2019, Meghan gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor. The moment she held him, time seemed to stop. The palace walls, the noise, the criticism, all of it faded. "He's perfect," she whispered. Harry's eyes filled with tears as he kissed her forehead. For the first time in months, there was peace. Meghan's mother joined them, bringing comfort and love that transcended titles. Those early days were tender and quiet, a rare pause in the chaos. But peace never lasted long in the royal world. The press wanted photos, the palace wanted statements, and privacy became a luxury she could no longer protect. Still, Meghan tried to focus on motherhood, on lullabies, warm sunlight, and the simple joy of holding her child close. In those small moments, she rediscovered her strength. By the end of 2019, the weight had become too much. Harry and Meghan began to talk about leaving, quietly, late night, when the palace slept. "Can we really live like this forever?" Meghan asked. "Not if it costs our peace," Harry replied. They wanted freedom, not from duty, but from the pain that came with it. It wasn't rebellion, it was survival. The decision broke centuries of tradition. When they finally announced it, the world was stunned. Megxit, the papers called it, cruelly reducing a family's pain to a headline. But Meghan and Harry stood firm. They wanted to protect their son, their sanity, their love. "It's time," she said simply, holding his hand. As the plane lifted from Heathrow, Meghan looked out at the clouds over London. Below her lay a kingdom of history and heartbreak, a headly uncertainty and hope. She didn't know what awaited them in California, only that it would be theirs to build. For the first time in years, she breathed freely. Harry sat beside her, Archie asleep in his arms. They had left the crown, but not their courage. For the world, their story was scandal. For them, it was salvation. Meghan gazed at the horizon, sunlight breaking through clouds, and smiled. The fairy tale wasn't over. It had simply changed shape, no longer about castles and crowns, but about love, peace, and the freedom to be human again.